go first?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know we're going first. Okay, well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm Peter Zanoni, the city manager for Corpus Christi. And I don't think I've met a lot of you all, but if you haven't seen me before, I'm glad to be here this morning. I'm just going to say a few opening remarks and comments on behalf of the team, our negotiating team that's here. I won't be part of this these official negotiating sessions, but back at City Hall, I'll be meeting with the team regularly. This is an important project, if you will, or important work effort that we're doing. And a lot of my time will be spent working with the team and working with you all indirectly through that. But I just want to make a few comments today about our approach and kind of my philosophy on how we'll approach this. So one thing though to start with is the profession itself, and not just the firefighter profession, but the public safety profession. We know that in recent times a big spotlight has been placed on the profession, and for me it's highlighted that it's a critical profession, it's a critical function of any city, and we're fortunate and blessed to have a great public safety unit here in Corpus Christi, both with our police department and with our fire department. And whether it's the wrongful death of Floyd or dealing with COVID-19, firefighters and paramedics have been on the front line right at the COVID epidemic or pandemic. What's apparent to me in recent times is that the profession is the ultimate leadership job. When we talk about leadership at all levels in the city, and in the past year, in my mind, it's really been of the directors, assistant directors, of a department, or maybe a division head. But what's apparent is that our frontline police officers and firefighters are probably the embodiment of real leadership, right? Because while they work as a team, a lot of times they're working independently. They're going into that house that's on fire, or they're going independently in their cruiser, if they're a police officer, to a scene that they know little about. And unlike a decision that's made in an office, their life is on the line when they enter that scenario, or the life of somebody else, or lives, right? So they have to take a lot of leadership, responsibility. They have a lot of judgment, a lot of analysis that has to take place to deal with that situation. And when we look at our firefighters and our police officers, a lot of them are young, right? I've been to both cadet classes on the police side and the fire side, spoke to them both. You're talking about kids almost, right? The 18, 19, 20. And that 1 year or 2 years of training certainly isn't going to teach them everything. Chief Markle was telling me just yesterday, it takes about 5 years to feel confident and comfortable, right? So all that just to say that we, or me at least, and I think we understand that this is it's a big profession, and so it's a different type of employee that we have to think about when it comes to pay and benefits, and when it comes to just respect and appreciation for the profession, but also for the individual. So we have that in mind as we begin the negotiating sessions. Another thing I want to talk about is a proven track record of getting things done. Just talking to a fellow employee that's been in the city for, I think, 30 some odd years. And she said, the city administration, if you will, the manager's office didn't always have the best working relationship, I guess, with the firefighters, or maybe anybody for that matter. But I want to tell you this morning that we're committed to working with you. This negotiating session should be something that we look forward to each time we meet. This isn't, it shouldn't be a struggle. We're about getting things done. And if you look back over the past year, I just celebrated a year as city manager. May 20th was 1 year. And what we told the community, I told the council this to get the job, but really the community is the one that kept telling me they need the following. We've got them done, and there's still a lot more work to do, but if you look back at those things that were most important to the community and still are, it's our street maintenance, our parks department, our park facilities, our development services department, our water system, and professionalizing the organization, right? We've accomplished that, and don't get me wrong, there's still a lot more work to do. 1 year is not going to do much, but for the first time in probably decades, the city, our crews are paving streets the right way. Right, we weren't even doing it right for decades. We're doing it right, we're paving our own streets. We have the private sector, like Haas and Bay, following us and checking to see what we're doing. I don't know exactly why, but that's just one example of getting the right leadership in, retraining our staff, buying the right equipment, and doing it right. And so in parks, the same thing. Our parks they used to be nice, but they've gone down over time. We have a great maintenance program that's in place now. We're tearing down and getting rid of old equipment that's dangerous. We're putting in brand new equipment. We opened up a first splash pad. It's been probably, I don't know, years and years before we've added any type of amenity like that. And we have 2 more opening up over the next couple of weeks. We professionalized the organization. I've replaced and recruited from within the city, within the state, within the country, 24 professionals that were focused on diversity. And so more than half of those 24 persons I appointed are in a minority class. And I think when you look at your negotiating team on our side, we have a very diverse panel of individuals, so diversity is important. It's important because we can think in different mindsets about how to approach your pay and your wages. And so the summary on that statement is that we're about getting things done, and we want to work with you on this particular item. We also want to work with you to have we already have one, but to continue to have an excellent fire department. And so we'll be working on the 2020 bond program. We're going to see what we can do there. In this current budget, we added the biggest cadet class size that we've ever had in the fire department. We're training about 50 cadets right now. That will help to erase a long-standing problem of massive vacancies, which gets filled by heavy overtime, right? Which doesn't really help too many people. But so getting things done is a message, and this is just one other thing that we're going to get done. And so to that note, I want to challenge you all on both sides that we should try to get it done as quick as we can, not to rush, but let's try to get it done 30, 45 days. I asked Michael this morning, what's your all's calendar, what's the plan? And you'll all figure that out soon, but my message to him and to you is let's try to get it done. There's no reason to drag this on. And not only that, but we should get it done right here in this room. There's no reason to go to the numerous steps that we have in the negotiating process. We can handle it right here, where everybody's a group of professionals. We have a team that's open-minded, and so we want to get it done, and we want to get it done in a time that benefits you all, really, because we're beginning the budget process. Eddie's here somewhere, there he is. We're beginning the budget process here in a couple of days, really, for the FY 2021, which will begin October 1. So I would say let's get it done, and let's get it done right. And then the final thing is that we're committed to being fair to both sides, right? We represent both sides, and I think you guys do too. We represent the taxpayer, the ratepayer, but we also represent you. We're working with you all. And so we want to get an agreement that's fair to you and fair to the taxpayer and fair to the system, because we know that in our city we have 32 departments, right? It's just not one department, it's not two, it's 32. And so we only have so much resources. And don't be bothered by the economic downturn so much. I know Johnny and I talked, and I appreciate him going forward, because one option was to say, you know what, let's just hold off, because this economy doesn't look good for anybody negotiating. There may be some truth in that, but you never know what can happen next. We could have a hurricane that could even put us further down. So we're going to work for you all to make sure that both sides and the taxpayer get something that's fair and equitable. We know pay is important. We know that pay for certain certifications and a good health care program and a good retirement program is what we're at, right? That's what we're after. So I think we can get there, and just to talk about demonstrating it one more time, in the current fiscal year, pretty much a year ago when I got here, I received a letter from the retirement group, your retirement plan. You're the only partners are the only one that's not on the Texas State Municipal Retirement System. You all have a great plan that was founded, I think, in the 30s, right? And it asked for increased contribution. And so we addressed it, we responded to it. In fact, in the budget, we added close to 400,000 more right now to bring that level of funding to the fund back up. And not only that, but we committed to putting together a small work group to see how can we get it even more fully funded over time. And we did that even with we still have one more meeting. It was rescheduled because of the COVID and stuff, but we're looking at a 5-year, and this is outside of the negotiating agreement, but I just want to tell you this, we're looking for a 5-year, close to $400,000 increase every year, so that your fund will have a 2-to-1 match. Right now, every employee has a 2-to-1 match, except for firefighters. And that means that the firefighter or the civilian or a police officer puts in a percentage, and the city matches that 2 times to the 1. So in the fire, for you all, it's 13% of earnings is put into the retirement system, and the city right now, we don't, but we want to get to a 26% match. And that'll keep your fund fully funded and increase that benefit to your employees. I know Matt Wood is your representative, and he's done a great job fighting for you and his team. He's a real good guy to work with. So that's just one example of saying we're committed. We're already committed in the current budget. We added the largest class ever in terms of fire cadets, and we already increased our contribution to your retirement plan. So those are just some thoughts to open up today. I think I'm leaving the negotiating in the hands of a great team here. We have some new folks, but each one of these individuals is a professional, and they wouldn't be here working with you if they weren't. So with that, Johnny, I want to thank you for allowing me to open up today and for leading this on behalf of your side, your team, our team, and those are my remarks this morning.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
We came to
Stop for birthday.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Okay, can I, if you,
Thank you.
so anyway, welcome to everybody to the Association Hall. It's Local 936. It's owned by the firefighters. We treat it as our home. We want you to treat it as your home, whatever you want. There's sodas, water. Yvonne's still here. I can't mention the beer, but coffee, snacks, whatever you want. Hot, cold, just let us know. We'll get it. The bathrooms are here in the hall. The only thing we ask, you don't smoke in the hall. I don't think we have that problem here today. If you would, just make sure you signed in. There's stuff on the back table to sanitize. There's wipes, there's hand sanitizer. If you're sick, please leave. We don't need anybody getting sick. My name is Johnny Stobbs. I'm the president of the Firefighters Association. And I just wanted to introduce my team. I do have some new faces this year. I'm going to start with the old guys. This is Steve Bowers, Randy Smart down there, and John Woda. We've all negotiated before, but I do have 3 new guys, and Jason Cook's one. Ronald Crabtree or Brad? Brad. We'll call him Brad today. Brad Crabtree and Captain Toby Keith. And anyway, so we look forward to the session, and we appreciate the city manager coming in and giving us those words of leadership. We've been very pleased with him so far, and I don't anticipate anything being different through this process. I do need your lunch menus if you have them, and if anybody needs the password, just say something. It's right here.
I'll be both from here.
Okay. You need the password?
Yes.
And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank y'all. And try to wrap up the pleasantries, but I do want to, at least from our end, say that we do appreciate y'all opening up the hall to us and providing us with a way to get these meetings done in person, but doing them safely, and appreciating, the pandemic that's been surrounding us for the past few months. We do appreciate y'all's hospitality. I come here pretty regularly, and I always feel pretty welcome and comfortable, and I know these guys will too. I have team member list to pass out, but that's one thing we could start, but I just thought might as well start. I know most of y'all know a few of these guys here, but I'd like for the newer people that are new to this process to introduce themselves and their role. So you can kind of put a name to the face and kind of understand what department, what they're coming from, what they're going to bring to the table, what expertise they're going to bring. I know most of y'all, for y'all don't know, I'm Lilia Castro, I'm Assistant City Attorney, City Legal. Been working with labor relations now for 2 years, maybe. Feels like longer.
Feels like forever.
Yeah, feels like forever, about 2 years. And I'll just kind of, we'll go back this way and then come back to the table.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Rodriguez. I'm the Chief of Staff. I work in the City Manager's Office. I oversee several departments, including Human Resources, Public Works, Engineering, our Innovation Office, Communication, and IDR. I also assist the City Manager with overseeing police and fire, so I meet regularly, almost on a weekly basis, with Chief Oaker, Chief Markle, and Chief Confetto, Chief Urban. So that's my background.
Michael is our city manager's office representative here.
Morning, everyone. I know everyone, it's got that formal feeling, but I'm going to kill that right now. My name is Richie Confetto. I'm serving as Deputy Fire Chief, but I go by Richie. As I look around the room, I know most of you, I've worked with most of you. Even those of you that are behind me have developed a relationship, a very good working relationship that we feel comfortable in that regard. I'm second in command of the department, which gives me a vantage point over all the activity in the department, so I'm very familiar with all the goings-on of the department, and it's that expertise or that information that I'm hoping to bring to the table so we get an amicable contract. Any questions, any comments along the line, by all means, I'm an open book. Everybody here's approached me with one problem or one concern and one solution at one time or another, and that's what we're here for. As Peter had denoted, we want to get through this as quickly as possible, but not rationally. I mean, not a rash decision or hastily. That's probably a better word. So anything we can do to contribute to that, by all means, let us know.
I guess it's my turn. Hi, most know me. Kenny Urban, Assistant Fire Chief of Operations. So this is, I do have some experience, unusual. So I know last contract, I started off on the labor side and finished off on the management side. So this is the first time I'll start off on the management side. So I understand the perspectives of both sides of the issues, and I look forward to this one. Being with that experience, I know that it's possible to have a very amicable and negotiation here, and I look forward to that process.
My name is Yvonne McCaney. I am the Interim Director of Human Resources. I've been in Corpus about 2 months. I'm from Chicago, and if you haven't seen the video, because I keep getting teased about video, but been here about 2 months, but I've been in HR for over 10 years in both unionized and non-unionized workforces. So a variety of experience, public and private sector, and I'm happy to be in Corpus in the city. Before I came here, I worked for the state of Illinois and the Illinois Housing Development Authority. So variety of different experiences, and I'm happy to meet all the guys I haven't met yet, and meet you guys in person. So nice to meet you all.
I'm Eddie Houhan, the Management and Budget Director. I've been part of this process a couple of sessions and kind of behind the scenes for a couple more. So good to be back and look forward to work with you all and get on down the road. As the City Manager said, good to be back.
I am Tracy Lawson. I'm currently serving as the Assistant Director for Human Resources with the City of Corpus. I have about 20 years experience in human resources and recruiting, and I've been with the city about 3 years.
I'm Gabriel Rodriguez. I'm an Assistant City Attorney. I advise both the police and fire department as far as their administrative stuff, and also assist Lilia with labor relations. This is my second contract, so I'm still learning. I have a few stories, but I'm still learning, and I'm excited about it.
Hi, my name is Ramon Henderson. As Yvonne stated, excuse me, 2 months old. I'm probably about 4 months old. Started in February. I've been here with the city as of February 3rd as the Director of Benefits. Benefits Manager, I should say. I was Director of Benefits at the Arkansas Children's Hospital for the last 10 years. My background is investment management, and here we go.
I'm Yvette Mendoza. I'm an executive management assistant to the chief of staff. I've been with the city since September, so I'm looking into this process. My background is in health. I came here in Los Angeles, Texas, and I'm very anxious to learn everything that goes on with this type of negotiation.
Well, welcome to you and your team.
Yep, thank you. All right, so I think we get started at least with a few housekeeping matters. My thought was to first just exchange our list of team members,
Okay.
and then we can go through the ground rules. This is all.
Would you want a, what you, you want copies of that?
I'll scan it.
Okay.
Everybody. Should I make copies of the ground rules? I've got one.
I don't think so. You're gonna go over on that?
Yeah.
So if you want, that projector is available if you want. All you gotta do is say, touch it. I don't care.
So I provided you a copy of our ground rules that we're proposing for this 2020 negotiation session. Pretty self-explanatory. There's just a couple of items that I thought we'd just spend a little bit of time discussing. The first being is that we're, until that date, and we've exchanged a list of team members from both sides, but the ground rules do allow for amending that. If you need to bring anyone else in, you need to alternate, or somebody can't make it, and all of a sudden you're short-staffed, you can always amend the ground rules, and if any instance we need to bring in consultants and experts from time to time on the matter, we can always add them and bring them in as well. But the key, at least for right now, I think that team list is so important, is number 5 in our ground rules. So collective bargaining negotiations are subject to open meetings under the local government code. Public comment isn't required, and our ground rules actually specifically state that public comment is not allowed. But the meetings are supposed to be open to the public. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the governor has allowed for cities to close off their meetings to the public so long as the meetings are made accessible and viewable within a reasonable amount of time for viewing and for transparency. And our public information office is here, and as you can tell, we have the recorder going with the commitment that within 24 hours of our meeting being closed, the meeting will be uploaded to the city's YouTube channel, which is, the whole hyperlink is actually in the ground rules as well. But because we are closing the meeting off to the public, we have given the AG's office the impression that it is strictly to team members and those who have been listed and designated by each side. So these are even more important than usual because we are following those rules. With that, other than that, we're going to try to keep the conversation between the two lead negotiators, that's myself and the city. If we brought it to the table, let's keep it at the table. If there are specific questions that I just really can't answer, I'm not the best person to answer it, because I don't have the experience or the expertise in it, I will absolutely and quickly want to put that down on this table here to one of these guys, and they know it, I do it all the time to them. I'm here to help facilitate the process, but I in no means do I know every single thing of what y'all encounter and deal with every day. I can appreciate it, but a lot of it comes from y'all explaining to me and explaining how it works, why this is important, why this is an issue, why you're so passionate about something. I do need you to walk me through it, or I need these guys here to help me understand it. So we'll try to facilitate that as much as possible, and that's mostly just to keep order and to make sure that we're, maintaining a smooth process. So that's noted here. The other thing we have is, we're going to, our meetings won't exceed 6 hours unless we agree to, go longer than that, and we feel that going longer would be fruitful and would be productive. We'll see where that goes. I don't think that will be an issue. We do have our PIO office here. Any press releases that we put out there will be joint. So you'll always be informed if Public Information Office or if Peter or Michael think that maybe we should put something out to talk about that we're kickstarting this process or this dialogue is starting. You'll still be involved in that process, Johnny, and we'll make sure we have your blessing before that goes out. Other than that, I don't think everything else is pretty, we're we don't have to get the impasse, so I'm not have to worry about that. Time off to attend, I don't think that's an issue. I know you get those requests that guys don't come to me, you'll send those directly to me. I really think that's it. Unless you have any specific questions.
No, I think the only thing that we would have, or at least for right now, would be discussing that date for the close. What was that date? Exchange of the...
Oh, the proposals?
Yeah.
Exchange of proposals? Well, I think what we did here is that we talked about at the 6th session, we'll discuss if we think by that time we should know whether we have them all on the table, or if we don't, then let's get a final date to it. That just kind of leaves us some time to see how things progress and see if there's anything that, we might already have them all on, but that's giving us some time to.
And one of the things we talked about last week, Chief Urban, were you able to do the teams?
Yes, I have created a team site. I just need to put some documents on there and then...
I need to send him the Word document.
Yeah, I can create that. It's already created. I just need to invite so I didn't want to invite people without having documents on there. And
the only reason why I ask is that it might facilitate the process a little bit better that we all have copies of the proposals, and we can do that through Teams, right? We can share the proposals there.
Yeah.
That way we're all kind of looking at it at the same time.
we could all look at the common document.
And the ground rules are a little different. We all looked at this last week, and, tentatively worked on it. Any questions from you guys on the ground rules?
If you're good with that, I have signed it.
Yeah, we're
I'll
good.
give you a copy, so if you have to sign two originals, you have one on one.
Just one note on the Teams, I have to use city email, so I cannot use anything other than the city email.
No, we'll make it. Is that an issue for anybody? Teams is through city email?
Will we have,
I forgot.
will we have access to the new server stuff?
Yes, every firefighter now has what they call a Microsoft E3 or G3 account. We did that, so if you're able to get on Power Apps, you have Teams.
Get that back to you. Sign-in sheets to just keep track for the process, who attended, who participated. I'm okay with not actually having to, pass something around and kind of start talking while everybody's signing over the sign-in sheet. So long as everyone knows when you get here to sign the sheet that you have there, and then just give me a copy. That's okay with me if you think so. If not, we can
We're okay with that.
pass it that way. Okay, so long as my team knows too, when we get here, make sure we sign this one, so then I'll get a copy of that and I'll keep track of it in my binder.
Yeah, what we do is we treat the bargaining sessions as a committee meeting as far as the association side. And this is how we track our meetings. So I know it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past. However y'all want to do it, we're okay with it. So you just tell us, it's just fine.
Yeah. It really would be.
So just need Randy and Katie.
Yeah, we'll start signing those and then kind of get the process going. Okay. So that's all the housekeeping stuff. It doesn't matter unless you want to talk now about the calendar. Or do you want to save that for the end? I'm going to go through the deal. Okay.
Yeah, makes it simple.
All right. I've let my guys know because we are getting a little bit later start date due to COVID-19. Before COVID, if you remember a time before COVID, we were on track to start, probably start by March. Yeah. Okay, April 2nd, there you go, is the date. And because of the pandemic, the things got pushed back. So I've already let my team know an effort to, not only show good faith, but to really move this process along. We plan to meet every week, at least for this first month of June. So we want to start pinning some dates down, especially for city manager representative. Making sure we block out his schedule. I'm okay with that. We'll start with next week.
Okay. Let me grab some.
Yeah. Thursday the 11th. Now my team could speak up, but that's bad. Thursday the 11th, and anticipating it'll probably be a long session, so 9. We'll start at 9.
You good with that, guys? I think we're good. Whatever days work for y'all, we're good.
Good? Okay, so June 11th. That work for you?
9 to 9, is that what you said?
9 to 9. Oh, we get dinner too. Okay.
Yeah, you want to get it over with?
You feed us?
Thursday the
Are
11th.
you going to feed us? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
He'll make it 9:30.
Okay, so Thursday the 11th, we'll get it posted.
The only thing, Lydia, that we might want to do on our side is to rotate. So the way fire works is if you work Thursday this week, you work Wednesday next week. Right? You always backwalk one day. So if we're going to be on Thursdays, do consecutive weeks, it'll always be a different shift.
Oh, okay.
So I've got 1 40-hour, 2 Cs, 2 Bs, and 1 A. Those are shifts.
Yeah.
So if we can just rotate
Not great.
that through. Yeah. So just put one burden on one shift. That's why I'm doing it.
Okay. So we're doing Thursday next.
The following week, you'd always, if you were going to do it Thursday, you wouldn't want to do it on Wednesday. Council back is meeting issue. That's an issue. Except for the first. I looked at this day. So like if you wanted to do the 18th.
Yeah, let me just look at one more week out for now, and then we can look to the 18th.
Or like every Thursday?
I'll send everybody. All right, so over the last year or so of the contract, there have been various issues that were brought to the department's attention, whether they were in an actual grievance form or whether they were kind of in informal grievance form, more of a heads up that these are issues that the association was seeing. And the department has worked together with the association informally to resolve most of those throughout the last, I would say, last couple of years for sure. Some of those items that were worked through informally to either, prevent a grievance or to work through a grievance, some were signed in MOUs, some were signed in settlement agreements, and some were just taken care of and with the promise that we were going to address them, once we got here. And, we have done that. We've incorporated those into what we have for some tentative agreements here. These are all on operational department issues, non-economics. This is just what throughout the last couple of years the department has issues that have come up with either between the association or within the department. And I believe we worked through them. So I have copies for everyone to see it, and I thought we could just kind of go through them quickly. Okay. Those who can bid into each rank. And I know the numbers just seem sort of random, but it actually works out to a percentage. So when we looked at it the way it was before, it was, 5 firefighters, in each rank, but certain ranks have a lot more positions. And so when you look at, one rank has like 20-some%, but when you compared it to like a firefighter 2 EMS rank, it worked out to much less than 20% because they have the largest rank. So we went ahead and rather than just throwing out numbers, we went ahead and said, okay, what does 20% in each rank look like? And these are the numbers that we came up with based upon that math. We also discussed not only who is eligible to bid, but how the bid process will work, how it needs to be submitted, posted, submitted to the Assistant Chief of Operations, and then once it's approved, there's going to be a period of 3 3 years when a firefighter will not be able to bid again into another vacancy. The other is mostly cleanup. We added on B, rather than no more than one firefighter, 2 minutes, we brought that number to 2. In C, we have actually defined a non-ambulance station, and that's come in. We've been working on definitions, and I think towards the end of the contract, we'll have all those ready to go. G, in the event that multiple bids are received for a single vacancy, the firefighter with the most time in rank will have his or her bid granted. That's in the highly unlikely but possible likely event that will happen. Just more for operational purposes, making sure that we have a smooth process. Because if there's only one vacancy, then only one person can get it. So. And really, J is a result of an MOU that was executed many years ago that we're just now finally getting to incorporate to the contract now that we're in a period where we can. If anybody has specific questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If not, I might kick it to Chief Urban or Chief Quintero. But if we're good, I'd like to tentatively agree on this one.
Can we, and I think we're not opposed to that either, but could we see, can you tell us what the definition of a non-ambulance station is? Since we are changing the term.
Yes.
Or actually, we're enumerating the term.
This is the working unit, but this non-ambulance station, meaning the station that does not have firefighter 2 EMS regularly assigned and does not operate or house a first standby medic unit. Read that again.
We got that? Read the last part?
Yeah.
One readily available?
EMS, 2 EMS regularly assigned, does not have a firefighter 2 EMS regularly assigned, and does not operate or house a first standby medic unit.
That would be our reserve unit.
Both of those would be qualified. So they're not qualified.
Yeah, not
Could we? Jason, do you have an issue with
You have a question, Jason?
Yeah.
Well, that's for the bidding process, right? To bid in at a station that doesn't have the first standby unit.
That's going to be the definition for a non-ambulance station. Anything else that comes out of non-ambulance station, that's it.
A first standby being like medic 180 was, right? Like now medic 12.
But call at the moment. So, you should have said and, correct? It has
And does not operate or house a first standby medic unit.
So it has to be, that word and means both of those qualifications. Is that right? It has to have.
It doesn't have firefighter 2 EMS regularly assigned and does not operate or house a first standby medic unit.
So 17th,
Now we're good.
as of now, non-ambulance.
Yes.
Okay. Jason, you good? Brad? Brandon? John? Keith?
So we need something, or is that what you have your copy of?
So we're going to use numbers or spell them out? How do you want to do it?
So,
Back
Two at the same time because these are pretty quick and quick. I think there'll be a lot of. First one is the Article 15 holidays and holiday pay. This came about as a result of the city adding Martin Luther King Jr. Day this last January for the first time. And really this is just a reflection to go ahead and add it as a recognized city holiday. Not that y'all are supposed to have it in there, but we're just making it a little more formal in the agreement.
We're not.
If there's any questions on that, then that should be great.
Any questions on that one, guys? All in.
The next one is related to Article 23, the grievance procedure. This item was brought to the department's attention really from the firefighters themselves in the field who sometimes would have difficulty, depending on the shift schedule, to get a grievance kind of resolved before the board in enough time. 10 calendar days just seemed to be too short and would require them to either miss out or possibly just file very quickly without really being able to vet their grievance if they have one potentially. And it really was just kind of a matching up day to give the firefighting association a little more time to investigate their grievance, decide if they need to bring it together, maybe even be able to have a possibility of a formal discussion with the department, see if it's going to be necessary without being so rushed to get it on paper and make sure that it was filed timely. We talked about it, and I understood Johnny's concerns about that and the employees' concerns regarding that as well. 10 days can go by very quickly, especially when you're trying to discover or learn if you actually have a grievance. And we picked 25 because it just seems that that's the date that goes on for the chief and for the city manager to be able to have that kind of amount of time to respond. So why shouldn't the firefighter have it on the file as well? So unless anybody has any questions, I think that's fair and should resolve the concern.
Any questions, guys?
On B, the association has 10 calendar days following the receipt of the fire chief response. And we keep on reading, and then the city manager has 25 days after he receives the grievance. That stays the same?
Yes. Yeah, the thing that on the one is that it's, by that time the grievance committee has already met and discussed it. They've already investigated it because they've brought it forward. It's just, really deciding if they're going to push it to the city manager's level for a response or if they're going to go ahead and drop it there depending on what comes out of the chief's response.
Okay.
But still just hold a shorter timeline for us in that
gonna push it or leave it. And I think the biggest key was the investigating, getting it filed and getting that drafted, or if that was gonna happen, and then from there, decide to push it or not.
I get it. Nobody explained it.
Okay, but when you sign the final version, there's a spelling that needs to be corrected on the first reading for the final one.
You talking about them in the title sheet?
Yeah. I'll have that change right now. Did I, oh. Should have been the same amount on each one.
Is there an extra?
You got an extra? So the next one comes out of Article 24, appeals from disciplinary actions. This one came about from the association's concerns as well over time, and the department's ability to issue lesser corrective actions, and in the future, if there's any other bigger, larger discipline that's issued, being the chief's ability to use lesser corrective actions as progressive discipline without really affording the firefighter an opportunity to dispute those lesser corrective actions. And, Johnny brought up some very good points with that. The chief understood that. I understood that as well. Looking at it from civilian standpoint, for what's in our HR manual and for even what's in the CCPOA, the police officers agreement, that is something that's not, I'd say unusual, but it's actually addressed in most of the POA agreement, and it's addressed in the human resources manual that gives the employee at least an opportunity to rebut any lesser corrective actions, and in those instances it's usually just letters of reprimand, letters of counseling. In the fire contract, we use letters of reprimand lesser corrective actions as a fully encompassed way of anything outside of what's considered discipline. So the idea was if the chief gets to use those lesser corrective actions as progressive discipline in the future, the firefighter wants an ability to at least get their position, their opinion down on paper, and what they believe their position is, or what they believe how the facts really played out, and defend themselves. Without going to the need of taking every lesser corrective action through the appeals process that can be costly, it can be timely, and can really hold up the process and kind of tighten the management's ability to maintain order and structure the department as they see fit if they believe that lesser corrective action is needed and necessary. So our thought was to come up with something that gives them firefighters an opportunity within a certain period of time, and I have in here 20 days from receipt of the lesser corrective action, the the opportunity to file a letter of rebuttal that would become a part of that personnel file as well. And that way, the goal is if, and the big if, because we don't expect it, but say a firefighter had a lesser corrective action in the form of a letter of reprimand given to him a year ago, and then later has a suspension that's given and appeals that suspension, and the department wants to come in and say there's been progressive discipline, so this is why the suspension's the next step, this is why it's needed, this is why it's justified. The firefighter has the ability to say, yes, I received that letter of reprimand, but I also filed a letter of rebuttal outlining my position in that, and I don't, and here it is, and be able to present that to an arbitrator as well. I think that's fair, and I think that so long as that timeline is in there, so it's not just open-ended, so I say, I got a letter of reprimand, I don't care, but then, 3 years later, you get something that actually is discipline, and now all of a sudden I want to file rebuttal letters to everything else. We want to be able to close that off. We want to be able to at least have an end date to it so we know that that issue has been resolved or at least taken care of and is final at that point. So unless anybody has any additional questions.
Good, guys?
Okay, the final one is actually an issue that has become a concern of the departments. So anytime the department sets up a promotional exam and has to post it and test it, it's costly and takes a position away, and each test it's costly. One of the things that has been happening over the years is that firefighters who are already in a certain rank will sign up to take a promotional examination for the same rank in order to, how it's been explained to me, see what some of the questions are on there in case there's another promotional exam that comes up in the future that they can sit for and get a look into what's already on the test. The problem with that is that, they're taking the test, really, they're not going to promote down, and they're already in that rank. The department has spent the money into the position and it's taken that test away from another potential applicant who could have sat for the exam. So this is a thought put forward in order to try to minimize that issue and make sure that whoever is sitting for those exams is eligible to take it to either promote in and do away with that issue that's come up. Any concerns with that?
Any concerns, team?
You can sign it if you want.
the, at least to date, the kind of non-economic operational issues within the department. Some of them have been brewing for years, some have come up in recent lights, and we're glad that we can address those and incorporate it into the contract so early on. That being said, actually, Johnny, at this point, I'll turn it over to you.
Can we take a small break? Need to make sure everybody's got their lunch. I'm ready. Welcome back, everybody. So we're gonna, I think we're gonna present some non-economic proposals. Lily, I'm going to apologize up front. I only made 6 copies, but I can make, like, for Ramon and Yvette and Dave, I won't have copies for them.
That's all right.
I can make copies real quick.
No, that's okay. Yeah, operational.
All right. Yeah. And those, so we're just going to give them all to you. There'll be a table of contents. They're in order as far as the articles in the contract. So I'll start with Article 8. John, if you'll make sure all guys have Article 8. Article 8 in the contract is association rights. And we actually have talked about this before, not specifically with you, Lillian, although I think we have kind of talked about it a little bit. In Section 2, it talks about the union president's time off and how the association members pay for that time and those kinds of things, and the use of the sick leave, or personal leave, to pay for that. But it doesn't provide a provision that if the association president was to change his election mid-year, there's no mechanism to give that leave back to the individual firefighter. And so much so that the way that we do it currently, which is we pay before the president takes it, you could end up in a scenario where if the president, whoever that person is, changed their mind, let's say after August the 1st of any year, you would owe a reimbursement to the firefighters for something they can't even pay. So I would like to try to fix that as well. And you'll notice here what I've written is that if that was to happen, the city would reimburse the personal leave time back to each firefighter's personal leave bank or their vacation bank if it's after August the 1st. On a pro rata basis, of course.
If the association president, if you were to elect to return to duty mid-year,
Mid-fiscal year or mid-calendar year?
say for purposes of this mid-calendar year, right?
Mid-calendar year?
Yeah. So you've got-
Yes. Right now.
So there's 6 months left, if you elect to return for whatever reason.
Correct.
What happens during the 6 months? Is there another, like election of some sort that would come in that?
No, I just go back, if that person made that election, they would just go back to shift. It changes nothing for the department.
Nobody comes in interim as it just kind of...
We're not talking about me quitting.
He's not required to be on 40-hour week. He can operate as the president of the union from shift or from 40-hour week.
Yeah.
He can go back to shift.
All it would be is
Oh,
that
okay,
person.
okay. You're not actually removing yourself from the position itself.
Right.
You're just removing yourself from...
40 hours.
Okay, never mind. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And I would also make a suggestion, and although it's not in the proposal, something maybe that we can talk about, is that firefighters pay up front for that time. So we pay August 1 for something you don't even know the president's going to do yet. Because he's not required to make notifications until December the 20th of that same year. So I would suggest that we change that to where the firefighters, the president's already made his election and you take it the following August for the year that he's in right now. And I'm more than willing to work with you on language if you're interested in that.
So recouping the cost.
Right.
This is for... Oh, yeah. That,
Recouping the cost, right?
And in that same, actually in section 3, part F, you'll notice we're going to ask you to allow those pension trustees 5 pay shifts off per year instead of 2, and that it be to attend any state or national pension seminar. Those 3 pension trustees are invaluable not only to the member, but I think they're valuable to the city as well. And that's it on Article 8, unless you have questions.
no.
Does everybody have an Article 13? I'm going to give you Article 13. I apologize, my assistant yesterday was on meds. Article 13 is supplemental benefits. In Section 1, Part C, we would like to add 1 dress uniform, and that would be the original issue. So that would basically be cadets. As you hire people, you issue them a dress uniform.
You know what a dress uniform is, or do you already have those, or do we not have them? We do have them.
We do have them, but firefighters right now are buying their own. Yeah, we're asking that, we want everybody to have a dress uniform, because it's so much nicer. It's a little more elegant. The problem is that depending on the firefighters or the employees to purchase their own, when you can solve the issue up front, as you hire those people, give them a dress uniform. I believe they're about $600. Ballpark. 600, that's a ballpark. So if you're hiring every 18 months, we're talking about 600 times, let's just say 50. That's 30 grand every couple of years.
So would you expect this to be in place for the next class
Here forward.
hire? Okay.
Here forward.
We're not reimbursing.
Right. Yeah, here forward. We can TA that one if you want to.
Sick leave.
Now let's go to Article 16, sick leave. Section 6A. The very first sentence, we want to add just a little bit of cleanup language, just, firefighters who separate from service with the Corpus Christi Fire Department. And then you'll notice that we've struck through the blocks there, and then added in the bottom that we would like to have firefighters are entitled to sick leave buyback for 8 days of every full year of service. So as an example, a firefighter retires, resigns, or is terminated with 15 full years of service, he or she would be entitled to 120 days of sick leave buyback upon separation, which is 8 days times 15. And currently there is no 15 year. It goes from 10 full to 20 to 24. So that's just as an example.
So let's use the example here. We have said 15 years of service, so I'm entitled to 120 days on separation. But right now, that 15-year who retired would get no more than 90 days.
90 days, yes.
So there is potential economic impact of this proposal, right? That's right. That's going to have to be costed out to see what the difference is.
And then on the next page, number D, section 6. Again, this is an economic, and I apologize that it's in here. But we would like to propose that a firefighter who has over 200 days of sick leave in their sick leave account be able to sell 10 days per year.
So if I have 205 days, I can sell 10 days and be less than 200, or do I need to have, for this purpose, at least 210 days to maintain 200 no matter what I sell?
I think the way it's written, if you had 201, you could sell 10.
Okay.
But I understand what you're saying.
Right. I mean, just to say, like, should they always have to maintain that 200 in order to, like, after the sale, would I still need to have at least 200?
I know that when we talk about buybacks, like in vacation, you have to maintain that minimum. But that's not how it's written. Now, in that section, I'd like to point out that you're really talking about people, firefighters, who never call in sick. That's why they have such a huge thing. Any questions on that one? The next one, Lily, is military leave. And I think that correct me if I'm wrong, but in our discussions, I think we had decided we were just going to bring it to the table.
Yeah.
So you'll see that this would be actually a new article. And I know that we talked about a few things, but right now, currently, what happens with firefighters, I think they get 15 days of military leave per year.
By the statute.
By the statute, right. We're asking to increase that leave to 30 days per year. And I apologize, I don't know how many guys are actually in the military, 20 or 30, give or take, say 20.
Kenny?
I would say it's coming.
Yeah.
10?
Less than that.
So, what happens to these guys if, under the statute, some of them are having to use their own leave, whether it's personal leave or try to schedule their Kelly days or their vacation, because of how much, they do 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. The statute's not enough to cover that. So, and that's what we're asking for. And I know that we had talked about maybe 30 wasn't the number. But we just wanted to start the discussion on that.
Yeah, I remember the discussion. It may be useful for Yvonne and Michael to hear, if I can remember how it went, and I know y'all will have to correct me. The way that military training is kind of set up is the military assumes you have weekends. So you're working an 8 to 5 and you're going to have your weekends off. It's not really accounting for the type of shifts that our guys see, which is why the 15 days isn't really sufficient, because they would be on, most of the time at some point they'd be on shift.
Article 21, this is really a language cleanup on this one. In Section 3, Part B, the fire department doesn't train guys for EMT certification, and we actually train them for paramedic certification. So what we want to do is strike the EMT certification. You also don't get basic firefighter certification pay. It doesn't exist. So I don't know why it says that, but what we do want to do is, once they are full-duty firefighters, they get 100% of the uniform allowance, longevity pay, and paramedic certification pay if they're certified. And then remove the approval of the Assistant Chief of Field Operations.
At first glance, it makes sense. No, we don't receive basic certification pay, and EMT certification pay doesn't, we don't pay for that. He's absolutely right. And there's no reason for me to approve, because it should be approved by a contract and not deciding.
If they're certified.
Yes, they are and they're not, regardless of whether or not I'm going to do it.
So we can TA that?
TA that one. Take a look at.
Right, that's just so I'm understanding, and you asked that question, that this is just a language change.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think it changes anything we do.
No, it just clarifies.
Just clarifies.
Ambiguity.
Article 22, that brings us to Article 22. And again, Section 1, Part 3, we want to strike through that. Now, I know that we did talk about that, Lilia, and I know there was some different discussion on whether it's a total strike through or decreasing the benefit of that, proposed that part of the contract. So we figured we'll throw it out there as a strike from the contract and just kind of go from there.
Okay.
into contract negotiations, we asked the membership for proposals. What do they want to see changed in the contract? And believe it or not, this article was either 3 or 4 proposals to change. And 3 of those people that submitted this proposal, it actually benefited them. And they thought it was too much. So anyway, that's where we find ourselves today. Currently, they get a half a point for every year of service up to 15, so 7.5 is what they get.
Were all the proposal you received to exclude it, to remove it?
To remove it totally.
Or was there any other?
Was there? No, they were all to
exclude it?
Yeah.
I'll take that one to the department and we'll get your response to that.
Okay.
As far as the association rights, it's off the top of my head, I'm going to probably need to talk to finance just to make sure as far as logistics go. I think what you're saying makes sense. Of course, if you return to duty, you are allowed that authorization to elect to return to duty.
Right.
Yeah, guys should get back the time that they already had taken out. So let me just figure out logistically how that would work. Article 13.
On, Lily, real quick, on that Article 8, could you explore the idea, and I would assume this would be with Peter, we prepay it.
Right.
We're paying for something, we don't even know what's going to happen yet. Could you talk to them about?
Yes, I think that would be the right time, yeah. I think, Michael having it in front of him, and, well, yeah, this will be the right time to explore that and wait, ask you to get involved in that conversation a little more, explain how it works and operates. But as far as 13, sick leave and military leave, I think those are economic items, so I'm gonna get with Eddie, and we're gonna have to look at that, and then we'll see what we can do.
So as far as military leave, I have, in the last 12 months, 13 people took up former military leave.
13.
Now, 3 of those being trained cadets at the time, and 10 current in the field.
So you're including those that are in training at the moment?
I included only the code for military leave, so it's anybody who's in the fire department. Cadets, field personnel, all that.
Yeah, what we're trying to do, Lily, is mirror something really similar to what the city did for the POA. That's what we're trying to do.
It includes hours.
I think we'll be right.
I think so too.
Okay.
I mean, those guys serve their country. In Article 21, you want a TA?
Or say yes on our
I'm trying to trick you.
Yeah, I think we can.
I would have to put a thing at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Dark.
Yeah, I mean, there's no, it's just really the thing.
I personally think 8 Article 8 will be fine as well, but my thought is to, in case payroll's telling me, yes, if we do that, but we would need X amount of time, or have to work this way, in case we want to add anything in, so it's clear how it would actually operate if that happened. I think that should give it.
Yeah, and I think that, speaking on Article 8, I toyed with the idea of going back to shift and trying to do the association's business from shift. There's a benefit both ways. I think that, having a 40-hour president, I think, serves both sides very well. And I would argue that it serves the city side just as well as it serves the membership side. Being available to the fire chief at any phone call, me not having to be on duty, he gets a hold of me anytime he wants to. But on the back side of that, what kind of brought it up for me was that I try to be a very fair person, but I also want you to be fair. And there's no provision in here, and this was before city manager's time, this was a 4-year time. The answer I was told 2 years ago was, that's my problem. And I didn't particularly like that answer because, again, what's fair is fair. There's no provision that if the president was to make that election, what happens to that time? And I think the answer is you'll give it back to them. The problem is, what if it's after August the 1st? I think that's where the real problem is. Because we pay forward, we don't pay backwards. The president could make an election, they could get their time back, and you would probably do that, but they wouldn't be able to even take it because it's past the August 1 or July 31st. So that's some of the problems to think about on it. And again, like I said, I'm willing to talk to whoever, explain this side of it, and we can go from there. Article 21, we talked about. You were okay with the TA on that? Yes, sir. All right, procedure. Do you have any questions from the Red Book?
No. Work on those and so that we can get back.
Really in the blue notebook is economics. Again, at the front of the book is a table of contents. We'll start with Article 10. Supplemental pay, Section 1. We want to, this is self-explanatory, everything in red is new.
These are all new.
Yeah, not all of them.
Okay.
Some of them are current, just changing the dollar amount. So under Section 1, these are supplemental pays again. If it's black, it's current, and of course red and underlined, those are all new. Article 10. Under Section 2, the first, Section 2. The first, you're going to see the hazmat. That's just reflecting what it currently is, which I believe is 75. And the same thing on the rescue station. It's currently 75. And then adding those three there at the end.
What's a tech specialist?
What's that?
What is a tech specialist?
Let me talk to my team, make sure I have a good grasp on it.
So the assignment pays for hazmat and rescue truck, they're at 75, so hazmat, but that's currently at.
That's currently
But you're
as
adding
an
the
assignment.
certification.
Right. We want to add certification for both of them.
For both of these,
Yeah.
but then also, one is rescue technician, one's rescue specialist certification. Now, I know we had worked on some language, and then I know we bring it today for defining and sort of separating out hazmat and rescue station.
Right.
I guess one, is that still something that we're looking at doing? Okay.
Yeah.
And then two, so you would see rescue technician and rescue specialist certification. Would the certification individual be one of those that is assigned to the rescue station, assigned, would actually be assigned, and then a rescue technician, because I see in the parentheses a combination of the two, which is sort of similar to what we've been working with in the definition section for that, so we're pulling that up, but I'm trying to figure out what the difference is.
I'm pretty sure the answer to that question is yes. Again, I need to confer with my team, just so I have a true 100% understanding of it. Was kind of hoping to get them on the table and we can talk about them as you decide what you want to look at.
Okay, no, I'm trying to, these are just questions off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Or if I have more, I'm just right off the top of my head. A lot of these I'm very unfamiliar with, so.
Yeah, in that same section, number A, the staff assignments, those are 40-hour weeks assignments. Those have been stagnant for, John, 30? How long have they been?
Like this?
Yeah.
More than 25 years.
So anyway, we're proposing an increase in 40-hour assignments. B would be new language, SWAT team assignment. I think currently we have 12 members assigned to that team. If I'm right, I think it's 12.
It's 12.
And we're asking them to be compensated just like their brothers in blue are at $125 per month. Under section 3, this is actually covered in the statute, they call it acting out of classification. Again, this has been, the current numbers that it is, it's been those numbers for over 30, and I think it's closer to 40 years. And at the time this was incorporated into the contract, it was probably in line with the statute. We're asking that number one, we become more in line with the statute, and those numbers will reflect that. So in an acting firefighter 2, we're asking to go from $18 to $52 a shift, and that real number is probably closer to 60 if you use the statute. And the statute's 143,038. In section 4, educational pay, the only thing we really want to look at is under degrees. We want to increase those payments slightly for an associate's, a bachelor's, or a master's. Section 5 is longevity. Again, we want to keep our employees as long as we can, and in order to do that, we need to pay them. This would actually preempt the statute. We're asking for $18 per month for each year of service, up to a max of 25 years. Supplemental pays, that's it. So the next one is insurance. We wanted to start the discussion on our health care. And in section 1 at the bottom of page 1, it's just a cleanup. We want written notice of any proposed changes. What we do now, it's just we want to clarify it. And then again, that last sentence, the city and the association must mutually agree to any proposed premium and or proposed health change. It's what we do. It's just, we want to put that in. On the second page, where you'll see the strike through, we want to talk to the city about removing GASB from our insurance plan. We're the only class of employee that the city has where we actually pay GASB. We want to remove that. I believe it's booked for every other employee class except for fire. That'll be reflected on page 4. Wasn't real sure how it should, I don't think you can just remove it. I mean, you got to have some words, you got to make sure everything flows together, but we just really wanted to start the discussion on it. And that's what you'll see on, I guess it was page 4, all that red, that's all GASB. You go to page 6, the lifetime maximum benefit. I believe now under the Affordable Care Act, it's unlimited. So we just want to reflect that with the law. Would you know if that's how our plan currently is unlimited? It is, right? And then on, I guess it's page 7, in section 1, part F, has to do with the Affordable Care Act. We just want to add the language that if it's still in effect on the 23rd, January 1 of 2023, and we're subject to the Cadillac tax, if we're subject to the Cadillac tax, it's just really a cleanup of the date is all it is. Under section 3, the dental plan, we're going to ask the city to contribute $45 a month instead of $30 per employee. And that's it on that. Article 13, it's really a rehash, and I apologize for it ending up in the non-economic book. I apologize, but we also want to ask for $100 in our uniform allowance. It's currently $67.50. That was one of the questions I asked you. Eddie got us the numbers. Eddie, you comfortable with those numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
Comfortable with them on paper?
Yeah, I mean,
But you said you were.
we were so close. Matter of fact, we overestimated a little bit, but we were really close to what he came up with. Within 2%. Okay. So anyway, we want to ask for $100 in our uniform allowance. And that brings us to Article 9, Section 2 wages. And this is a little difficult, so I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. So in year 1, we're not asking for anything other than we want to add 2 steps. We actually want to change something. So currently right now what we have is a wage step that starts it has a 6-month, an 18-month, a 30, and a 120. We want to go to a start, a 12, a 24, and a 48, and that correlates to 6/18/30. Those are all the same as far as money. Then what we want to do is we want to add an 84-month step between what would be the new 48 and the current 120. There's no more money there. It's a split between the two. Is all it is. To go from what's currently now 30 months to 120 months is a long time. It's a long, 8 years, give or take, 7.5 years, without a step increase. So that's what the 84 we want to accomplish with the 84-month step, and then we want to also add a 180-month step in that first year. And that 180-month step is 3. Basically, it's a 3% increase from the 120-month step. I can work the math out for you if you need to.
Kept the numbers same in order to be able to add in those 2, the 84 and the 18.
Right. So we want to. So right now it's 6/18/30. We want to do 12/24/48, and that's all the same. And then we want to add the 84, leave the 120 in the first year, leave it the same, but add a 180, which is 15 years. In the second year of the contract, working off of that model, we want to do $125 across the board. That's what will be reflected there. And then in the third and the fourth year, working on that same model, adding the 84-month and the 180-month, we want to do a 4% in each year.
125 across the board in year 2,
Yes, ma'am.
and then 4 and 4. And that's what these numbers reflect.
Yes, that's what the numbers were.
180 months, so years, is that absurd?
15.
That's 15 years of service. So right now, we've cut off at 10 years of service.
It's actually, in relation to this chart, really is time in rank, not years of service.
Yeah, it'd be time in rank. I don't know if that's, well, it should be clear.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's not, not every 15-year guy gets that. It's, you have to be in that rank for 15 years.
Okay. No, I didn't.
Which is how the chart is now.
Right.
I'll get that one worked up on a TA.
Eddie, you're already running it, right? So plugged in. Unless anybody has any, just right off the top of their head questions, what I'd like to do is the rest of caucus, because I want to sit down and see what questions we absolutely need to generate, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, and that'll give us an opportunity. Coming back, I may, one of the ideas I wanted to have was maybe delegate someone that can answer those specific questions.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
It'll work better for them. I'll work on it.
So unless anybody does have any, did I give you any questions? No? Okay.
Lunch ought to be here pretty soon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, it's right here?
We might just eat while we go through, go through them and start generating.
That sounds good.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank y'all. Hope everybody had a good lunch. We were able to quickly go through the economic package that you provided us. And we just have just a couple of questions and some more presentations to make sure that we take this as our homework for the rest of the week to cost it out, that we're doing this correctly and are capturing y'all's intent. First one.
So before you get too far down the road, we noticed a mistake.
Okay.
In section 2, that tech specialist is actually
one of my questions.
not supposed to be there.
Okay. To remove it, or is it
Section 2?
Yeah, remove out of section 2, right?
Oh, there it is, okay, I got you. Yes.
Remove that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that was not supposed to be in there.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
My fault.
That's what happens when you talk about, bro.
Next question, I just want to see if this is a typo or if I missed something here. On the educational incentive pay allowance on the associate's degree, is that supposed to be 125?
That is 125.
You went up $1? That's
Yes.
124, okay. Making sure. I know Eddie's not here, but I want to just talk to some as far as logistics, as far as costing goes. A lot of these are new. A lot of them are new. For most of them, when Eddie goes to cost it, do you think it's fair, or, if not, how would you do it as far as what numbers you should be using, not financial, but, 414? Or do you think that in some, the likelihood is it's going to be more of this range and not that range, but are we in the likelihood that once you put it out there, 414 have the opportunity to get it, so therefore you have to cost it out as such? I mean, how do you feel about that? I think that's important dialogue before we have, especially since they are all new.
It's kind of a catch-22, but how do you plan for it?
Right.
The only way you can plan for it is to do it at the 414. I mean,
That's what we're thinking.
That's how I would do it.
We just wanted to make sure
Yeah, we
when we
honestly
do that and bring it, they use their life, life.
Yeah, no, and we really didn't, that's not how we costed it. But the way we costed it is probably not right either. We took just basically an average. When you start talking about certifications, not everybody's going to put forth the effort to get those certifications or whatever. I mean, if Eddie was to do that, that article alone is probably 50. And we know that's crazy. But having said that, I guess you would. There's other ways to skin the cat. You do it at the 414. You do every one of them at 414. We look at them from there. I would say that, right now the hazmat technician certification, we don't have 414 of us that get it, or have it. We have 60. I'm just making up a number. 50 or 60 guys that have it. Right. That's amazing. Maybe we find that happy medium where we say we do them outside of 100. I'm just making something up.
Right, and I think those maybe we would treat a little different. So I would assume those certifications would be more offered by assignment.
I was going to say, would they be tied to assignment?
Yeah.
That's probably how.
Maybe that's a question we should ask.
Rather than standalone cert only, cert because of an assignment or a presumed assignment.
Basically not paying somebody for stuff.
Yeah, so something like driver operator certification, whether it's aerial or pumpable, that number's set. If you wanted to tie it to their assignment, if they're a driver, there's only 66 of them, or 73 of them.
But anybody with certification, that's the thing.
Right, but what you said is you could tie it to, if you were assigned that duty, per se, if you're a driver, you're entitled to that.
You can limit the number of certifications.
That would be
those who actually use it and do the work.
Right.
Rather than, sit in your office.
I mean, that's one way to do it.
Okay.
On something like a plant examiner certification,
There's a driver operator up there.
maybe you limit that to only 10 guys. I'm just throwing out ideas.
We have a civilian. It's a civilian spot.
There's some of them that everybody couldn't get.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Master firefighter, those require certain years.
Requires years of service.
So there's no way that the whole department could have it at one time. Because all the new guys could. Yeah.
Right, but not anybody. Anybody extra.
And that you were talking about that for like the fire officer 1, 2, and 3, or that's something different?
Master fire service.
The fire service is on the first page.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
Yeah, advanced, intermediate, advanced, and masters. Can't everybody get that?
So
It's not only time and rank, but it's also the class
it's education.
and education.
For those, we may be able to use current numbers.
Right, yeah, I think for those
Probably
are different numbers, not
Yeah.
more.
Those are
the ones that are existing.
So probably the ones that are in the red, the ones in red are the ones that are a little more ambiguous because we don't know what that potential is.
So when you're talking about your advanced paramedic, there's no such thing as that in literal terms. I think I'm guessing that's a word.
It's just a word.
To describe it. Those stipulations you put in there are classes that have an expiration date of probably about 2 years. So are you saying in order to receive that pay, is your intent that they'd have to maintain all those certifications without expiration in order to receive that certification pay? And what happens when they do not renew that, and who keeps track of that?
I think the answer to that question is they would have to keep up with that. And it's probably your EMS assistant battalion chief that should track that. He does their certifications, their paramedic certifications.
He does their license, which is an automatic renewal. But you're talking about increasing that work about 4 times.
I don't know that there's a database for all of those either. There's one for paramedic and even fire.
Yeah, but I think when you start,
we need to find out.
yeah, when you start talking about ACLS, PALS, ITLS, or PHTLS,
Yeah, there's not a database.
it's no, there's not, but it would seem fairly easy for him to have an expiration of those certifications and then just make the request to the individual employee saying, hey, did you renew your certifications? I need copies of your certifications. And if that employee can't produce that, then of course they drop back to the regular paramedic pay or certification pay.
Just like any other certification.
Just like any other.
It's going to have the same start and finish date also. So if you're hosting them all together in a group, taking the classes and certifications, they're all going to start and expire at the same time. So therefore, you'd have to renew it all together in the same group and class also. So tracking it wouldn't be as difficult.
Well, that's the other thing too. You said take it in a big group. Is the department now obligated to provide that training to you at big groups like that? Because all these are done usually on your own, either because you're getting your license.
Yeah, we didn't ask the department to provide the training.
I don't believe that was the intent.
That's not our intent. Not for the department to offer the training.
There's a lot more logistics to that certification than I think we're discussing. So there's some work to that administrative.
But when they apply for this, at that time, wouldn't he get the expiration dates to these certifications?
Well, with that certification, you're talking about 4 different expiration dates, varying years. It's easy to say, oh yeah, just keep track. You get one guy with a bunch of different jobs he's doing. His licenses we get that from the state, and it's a database that's put in the license. No, this is a spreadsheet that he's got to keep track of 460 employees, 4 different expiration dates.
Something he's doing already?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and then now you can multiply it 4 times. It sounds easy just saying it, but actually doing it.
Knowing what you know about, like Excel, right? Is it not reasonable to make an Excel sheet that you plug in when they submit their stuff? And I've taken my 4 classes, and their name is plugged in with the expiration dates, and then it automatically notifies 30 days before expiration or something? Is that?
You could do that. Yeah, you can do all kinds of, even thinking outside Excel, you can do all kinds of those things. But the reality is, no matter what you choose, it's additional work. It's additional chance for error. Well, we didn't talk about workload. The chance for error in that and missing an expiration date, and you expired 6 months ago, right? Whose responsibility is it for you to know on your pay? Is it mine or yours? And what happens if now you've been paid 6 months too much? You should have, shouldn't have paid 6 months ago. Now you got to pay back all that certification back. Right? So it just reminds you that your pay is an employee responsibility on your expiration dates of your requirements. Right? So I just want to make sure, even just taking workload away from that, you're talking 4 different expiration dates on 1 certification pay that you're getting on your own, which is your responsibility. We may be able to keep track of it. Let's just say we can. That's a lot to tie to one certification. Just putting it out. Right? I think there may be some better ways to differentiate that. To be able to qualify that advance pay.
Did a good job for 623.
Potentially 1,600 records. 414 times 4.
It's possible.
Not all personnel can obtain it because not everybody's a paramedic.
No, but when you cost out, eventually everyone will.
Eventually everyone will be. Not today.
After this contract, eventually, yeah.
Well, we already have a paramedic even before this contract. So that's not just.
If the proposal as we've written it doesn't fit with the needs of the department, then maybe instead of trying to beat it up and get in the weeds, maybe the department can offer a suggestion.
Yeah,
Through
no,
a counter.
I think it's just
Yes.
having a conversation, you know, one, clearing up any confusion,
Yeah.
and two, just already voicing some concerns at least, you know.
Yeah, that's, we're just trying to get a handle on
Yeah.
what
And
the target was.
I think it's simple enough that the department could track that. I think once it's set up, it'd be fairly easy to track. Personally, they track our paramedic now. They track our fire service now. They track all those things. There's no reason why they couldn't track 4 more things.
Yeah.
If they, well, actually, it's only 2.
You want to get rid of that?
Any 2 of the following, so it's not 4. Okay.
So as far as those are all the questions I had. It's more just to try and give my direction with Eddie and make sure that we're crossing this out correctly. Mama, did you have any questions on this?
Not
right now. Okay, on the healthcare. And then we're going to cost out the uniforms, and we'll cost out the wages, and you've given us quite a bit of homework, but I feel confident from our conversation with Eddie. Our chiefs are going to help us here, along with human resources, and getting Eddie the information that he needs in order to correctly cost it out. So I think we'll be very confident to be able to come back with that next week.
Okay.
So on that, I think unless there's any other matters you want to bring up, I think that's it for today. You're giving us some work to do.
Yeah, no, I'm not sold on the idea of doing it all at one time. And not that this is all inclusive. I mean, we still got a lot of things to go through, but I know that the association was working on some comparisons to, we actually did 28 Texas cities and 6 comparables nationwide. Has the city, I know that the city, I think, was doing something similar. Did you guys get a compiled data list of
I already have a copy of that here.
is that something maybe we can share?
Yes. So,
Probably a little easier for the city to get the information than it is us.
so this first one, I have copies for everyone, but I did a copy for you. Here is the comparator cities across. We tried to put it into one table to read it as easy as possible. It's a lot of information. And this is basically just taking a lot of that information and putting it over a 30-year average and just looking, at where we're at.
Is this for us?
Yes.
Can I have this
Yep.
one? Were you able to go through that and determine where the city of Corpus Christi, I'm going to call it, ranked in that? The scope of stuff?
So this is a 30-year average, and what we did, because it would have been very difficult, especially because a lot of the cities don't offer the same exact pays that we do, and they offer something called different. So we just took some of the kind of main ones and went ahead and 30-year averaged those out, and then kind of saw whether we were under, over, and where that was at. And took some of the ones that we thought it would be kind of highlighted in this contract and kind of focused in, just to give us something to look at, knowing that, again, that's not going to encompass everything.
Did you do the same thing with, that's wages?
Yes.
Okay.
That might be it for today.
Anything else, guys?
All right, we appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
See you at the 11.